So here's how they were found. In 1947, or maybe it was in 1948, a young Bedouin boy, a shepherd boy, is walking along the cliffs above a deserted and ruined settlement called Qumran. And he's looking for a lost sheep. Because a sheep's there one moment, the next moment the sheep disappears. And just to make this even better, this shepherd boy, his nickname is the Wolf. Isn't that perfect? So he's walking along a cliff, he's looking for a sheep, and it suddenly goes...
You better be able to get on. Give the boy an Oscar.
And thus making the greatest archaeological discovery of the 20th century.
And I missed it.
Thing is when this Bedouin boy founds this cave. It ends up being the cave that has the most complete scrolls in it, because the scrolls are in these jars.
And ironically, it's cave 1.
And it's cave 1.
Wow.
And that's the one he finds.
He could have fallen into cave 8.
Yeah. So
Which was the latrine.
he falls into this cave. He hits his head on some pottery, and there are these big earthenware jugs, and their covers look exactly like what's on the cover of your booklet in Jerusalem.
The plunger.
And that's what the tops of them look like. So he thinks, oh boy, this is interesting. I wonder what's in here. And he opens it up, and ultimately he finds 7 or maybe 8 scrolls. As I said, this is all very murky, even though it's only been 60 years. 7 or 8 almost intact scrolls found in earthenware jars. Now this is an Arab shepherd. He doesn't read Hebrew. He doesn't know what he's found. He doesn't know what's on these scrolls. They could be the laundry list from the Middle Ages for somebody. He doesn't know what he's found. He doesn't know what they say. But he realizes they're old, and maybe he should take some of them. This picture here is also by Barbara Brim, and this was actually taken from the ruins of Qumran itself, and she's looking up into the hills where the caves are. And the resolution on this isn't good enough to see the caves, but the picture in the booklet, you can actually see the little holes where the caves are.
Where the caves are, you're just above at sea level, and where you're standing is about 1,000 feet below sea level, just to give you an idea here.
So the shepherd boy was walking somewhere up here in these hills, and that's where the caves were. So in April 1947, the Bedouin brought the scrolls to Bethlehem. Now they figured, I know a couple antiques dealers. I bet I could get a couple bucks for these scrolls. So they take them to 2 different antiques dealers, or antiquities dealers. And these are the kind of people that professional archaeologists despise, because they buy and sell antiquities. 3 scrolls were purchased by a guy named Faidi Salahi. And here, if we can all sob for a moment, for $14. Greatest archaeological find of the 20th century, and initially half of it is sold for $14. 4 scrolls were purchased by Khalil Iskander Shaheen, who was known as Kondo or Kando. And he was still alive in the late 90s. I haven't followed if he's still alive now. And he always claimed that he had an 8th scroll that he hadn't given to anyone. And that's why we always say there were 7 or 8 found, is because Kando claimed that he kept one to himself. So now these 7 or 8 scrolls that were basically intact are in the hands of antiquities dealers who have purchased them for a pittance. In April of 1947 and early 1948, the scrolls are sold to scholars. So Kando sold his reportedly for $100. I would have offered 101 for him. His 4 scrolls to the Syrian Orthodox Archbishop of Jerusalem, Mar Athanasius, Athanasius Yeshu Samuel, who I think after this I refer to as Morris Samuel. That's his title, not his name. At the Syrian Orthodox Monastery of St. Luke.
St.
And-
Mark.
St. Mark. And the scrolls that were sold to him are the following. A complete ancient version of Isaiah. And well, I don't know if I'll get to it today or not as to why this is so significant. However, those of you who have a translation of the Bible that was translated after 1965, like how many of you use an NIV? So if you have an NIV and you read Isaiah, there's all kinds of footnotes. And the footnotes say, in the DSS, it says, the DSS is for Dead Sea Scrolls. And all those footnotes are based on this version of Isaiah, which is different in small ways from...
I think there's only 13, which was amazing considering the length of Isaiah, but I think there were only 2 differential things in the whole translation.
The other one, which is probably even more of an important find, is what initially is known as the Manual of Discipline, and eventually Killjoy scholars rename it the Community Rule. The reason it was called the Manual of Discipline is because the guy who first translated this scroll into English was Millar Burroughs, and Millar Burroughs was a Methodist. And he glanced over this scroll, and it seemed to be a list of rules and regulations for running a religious sect. And he said, well, we have one of those in the Methodist Church. It's called the Manual of Discipline. We have one in the Presbyterian Church. It's called the Book of Order. But he was a Methodist. So he said, this looks just like the Methodist Manual of Discipline. So I'm going to call this the Manual of Discipline, which I think is so cool that this guy, first one who gets his hand on it, gives it this kind of quirky name. And I think we should honor that. But like I said, a lot of killjoys call it the Community Rule or the Rule of the Community. Commentary on Habakkuk. This is one of what in time will be several commentaries. There's a commentary on Psalms that's later found. There's a commentary on Nahum. And this is interesting because this is one of the many things that happens with the discovery of the scrolls that kind of debunked stuff we'd been told for decades before this. And one of the things we've been told is that the Jews didn't start writing commentaries on biblical books until after the destruction of the temple. Well, guess what, gang? The Essenes were writing commentaries on biblical books. But they wrote them in their own quirky way, very much focused on their problems of the day. So they would, and I know this will be a shock to you because none of us would ever do this today, but they would take things they saw in the prophetic writings, like Habakkuk or Psalms or Nahum, and they would apply them to things that were happening in their day. Well, this must be the Kittim. And we don't know who the Kittim are, but maybe they were the Romans. So they would apply everything they found in these prophetic works, the stuff that was happening to them. And we're glad they did, because particularly this one gives us a window into who this group is. And they refer to a mysterious figure called the Teacher of Righteousness, and another mysterious figure called the Wicked Priest. So now we have almost like a Shakespearean play now. There's a teacher of righteousness, and the teacher of righteousness is brought down by the wicked priest. And so this kind of becomes the framework upon which the scrolls are going to be judged over the years. And then finally, the Genesis Apocryphon, which is a kind of a apocalyptic version of Genesis. And this didn't get as much attention and never has because it's similar to the later Jewish writings, so there wasn't anything unique or